Hey guys, what's up? It's Ben and Gary here from campinggeartv.com. We got another great interview coming at you. Today we're talking with Greg Thomsen. And Greg's rap sheet in the outdoor industry is about a mile long, 40 years of experience doing everything from working with big brands to owning big brands, developing products for big brands, marketing big brands. Really, his experience kind of runs the whole gamut as far as all the positions go. But currently, Greg is the managing director for the U.S. launch of the Adidas outdoor line that's getting ready to be released here in the later part of 2011. And it's already been released in Europe, and now they're getting ready to send all the products, the apparel and the footwear line to the U.S. Really exciting stuff. Big deal that Adidas is getting involved in the outdoor world. And also with Greg's background in product development and product design, we kind of get into some of those aspects as well. So it should be good. Stick around and check it out. Okay, so we're here today with Greg Thomsen. Greg works for Adidas. He's actually managing the U.S. launch of the Adidas outdoor line that's about ready to come out in the U.S. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So, Greg, your resume in the outdoor industry looks like it's 40 years of experience and just a mile long of the who's who in the outdoor world. But as we said, now you work for Adidas. Can you kind of talk about your role in this position right now and what you do as the managing director?
Yeah, as managing director, I'm responsible for all aspects of Adidas Outdoor in the United States. So right now we're in the phase of introducing the brand to the market. So immediately it's putting together all the marketing materials and trade shows and sales force and all the backroom um, operations that need to be put in place in order to manage the business. And then as we get into the actual selling and delivering and shipping, then we go into the next phase, which is building the distribution of the products, and then hopefully guiding it down the road for the next 5-10 years.
Sure, exactly. So you've only been with Adidas for a short while now, right? That
Correct.
you just joined them, I think, last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, just about a year ago.
So what kind of what kind of drew you to to the brand Adidas and working with them on this project?
Well, it's a long path, but I had gotten contacted by Adidas Germany, by the person in charge of Adidas Outdoors worldwide. He's the global senior vice president of Adidas Outdoors. His name's Rolf Reinschmidt.
Mm-hmm.
And he contacted me through some Adidas people in the United States to talk about how they should address the United States market. And that's how it sort of started. And from there, we hit it off really well, and we became kind of instant friends, and also we had a great deal of trust in each other immediately. So I'd say I wouldn't have been interested in it entirely without his involvement, because he was such a strong motivating force behind what I thought would be the right way to approach the market. And so we came up with a plan for how to combine the distribution with a licensee of Adidas's called Agron, which is the Adidas licensee in the United States for hats, bags, socks, underwear, other products. They're considered one of the best operating companies in the business. And they're also old friends of mine, and they are just the best people to work with that I've ever met. So by putting the combination of Adidas with Agron, the licensee, together, we were able to form a new company that is the exclusive distributor of Adidas Outdoors in the United States.
Yes.
And the benefit for that is that we can be really small, we can be fast on our feet, we can focus just on the specialty market, we can hire our own outside sales force of specialty reps, we can do everything without getting bogged down into the greater Adidas business.
Sure. So getting more specific into the outdoor line, can you talk about the specifics of that? Obviously, there's a lot of footwear in there, but there's also some apparel as well. Can you just tell us about what the line is about and maybe some of the goals that Adidas is trying to achieve with it?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad line, and it's half and half footwear and apparel. In fact, there's actually more apparel styles than there are footwear. There's maybe 65 footwear styles and 110 apparel styles. And in both cases, there's men's and women's. And both categories, or all the categories, are divided into mountain sports as sort of the high end, and hiking, trekking as the mid-range, the more everyday use. And driving the mountain sports is a category called Terex, which is designed for high-end, fast mountaineers. So it's really geared to climbers like the Huber brothers, who are the spokespeople for Adidas Outdoor, and their new quick, lightning fast, ascents of peaks in Pakistan and Antarctica. And the product has been designed for their use. So that's kind of the top of the pyramid. And then in the trekking, hiking, Reinhold Messner is the spokesperson for that. And he is, obviously many consider the best mountaineer of all time.
Sure,
and
yeah.
certainly one of the greatest explorers of all time.
Yeah, we saw him speak at OR.
Yeah, he's just amazing. And his input is more on the use of products for long hikes, long treks, crossing like Antarctica, crossing the Gobi Desert, that kind of stuff. And that's the image of that side. So it's the two categories. And underneath that, there's footwear and apparel that match both. And they go from the highest in technical Gore-Tex jackets to more moderate fleece jackets.
Sure.
And from high-end mountaineering shoes to lightweight boat shoes.
Sure, yeah. I'm just curious, is Reinhold, so is he involved with any of the product creation process at all? Is he giving recommendations as to what, the product should be like and how they should, be tested and things like that? Is he that heavily involved in it?
I think the foundation of the outdoor category was really inspired by Messner originally back in like 1978 when he was working on his first ascents, first oxygen, less sense of Everest. And he had Adidas produced shoes that were really light and fast, kind of based on a running shoe, but with a hiking sole outer. And that was some of the very first of the lightweight hiking shoes. So his inspiration was more, at that time, how do you make things lighter and faster? And today, he's more involved in making sure the product is the right inspiration.
Sure.
Not so much in actually designing the product, but testing it and saying, yeah, I feel comfortable with this. This is the right direction, and and that. But he's not actively going to be sitting down and drawing out a design.
Sure, yeah.
But he tests. He does wear the product and he does use it, and he's quite enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
You may have seen that at the show.
Yeah. So in '78, Adidas was collaborating with them to make gear for him for these ascents, but this was just, am I correct in saying this is just gear that he used? It wasn't released to a mass market.
I think it was actually released.
Oh, was it?
And maybe it didn't get as much of a response at the time. It was probably relatively popular in Europe because the styling of the shoes was more geared to the European flavor at the time, and the Americans weren't really buying that look in the shoes. And Adidas continued to make outdoor products on and off over the years, but never with a real concerted effort and focused plan as it is now. So this is the first time.
Interesting. So what kind of brings Adidas back then to the outdoor industry now that all that time has went by since '78 when they first started working with Messner?
Well, the long story is that Rolf Reinschmidt, who was in charge of all performance products at Adidas, been with Adidas for 15, 16 years, took a leave, some time off, kind of a sabbatical, to think about what he wanted to do and how life was working in a big corporation. And the chairman of the board came to him after 6 months and said, Rolf, what would it take to bring you back in? What would you like to do? And he said, well, I really love this outdoor category. And if I could run the outdoor category as a separate unit that reported only to the chairman, that could pick and choose people the way we wanted to pick and choose, that could go to the factories that we wanted to, not be in line or not have to lobby for it, but be able to go to the best places, and be able to set distribution up in any of the countries the way it was required to be successful, then I would come back and do that. And the chairman said, done. And so that's kind of the reason it got pulled back together. And then he immediately went out and put together just a fantastic team of designers, developers, factory people, and started to build the brand, build the line back up. And that was about 3 years ago.
Wow. Okay. So so shortly after he went back, they obviously put the line together and they released it in Europe, but they didn't release it in the U.S. Correct?
Correct.
What's the reasoning behind doing that? Just because I guess he's European based, and so they're, I guess, going to start in his backyard.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, part of it is that Adidas is very strong in Europe. It's a European brand,
Mm-hmm.
and they have really good distribution, and there are some really good outdoor shops that are strong Adidas supporters there. So it was a natural move for them. And in Asia, Adidas owns a lot of their own stores. And in Russia, for example, they own a number of their own stores. So it's easier to go into Adidas owned stores and the specialty market in Central Europe to launch it. Probably the reason they didn't want to come to the United States right away, or were wise not to come to the United States right away, is that U.S. is extremely competitive and really great companies here, and with a lot of history with all of the retailers. So Adidas would probably have had a bit of a problem launching a brand in the U.S. And so it worked out well that building the brand in Europe first, going to Asia and Russia second, getting all the bugs worked out and getting the product really fine-tuned before bringing it to the United States was really the right decision to do.
Sure.
And the timing is very, very smart for us because we're introducing a line that's had, 5 or 6 seasons worth of
Right.
development and people, and it's really well honed and quite perfect, I think, right now.
Right. So you're talking about if it started here, there would have been a lot of competition with a lot of other brands. You can tell just by going to an event like OR and seeing how many people make shoes. It's an extremely competitive market. Within Adidas itself, though, can you maybe talk about how the outdoor line, how maybe Adidas is trying to make sure that gets differentiated from some of its other lines and to let maybe the outdoor community know that, hey, we're making legitimate gear and this just isn't something that's attached to soccer shoes or things like that?
Yeah, I think that was one of the big reasons that we originally decided that the outdoor category needed to be sold by a different group than Adidas North America. So Adidas North America is located in Portland, and they are in charge of all of the Adidas products, from soccer to tennis to running, fitness, and outdoor is the only category that's not part of that group. It's managed separately, and that allowed us to be able to go to more specialty people outside of the normal Adidas team of salespeople and sales managers. So we could put together our own very highly specialized outdoor group. And I mean, no matter what you do, if the product's not right, it's not going to get much traction. So fortunately, the product is really well designed and really functional. So I think as we show the product, more people are happy. Are you there, Ben?
Yep, still here.
I just lost your picture. Sorry.
Oh, I think we're still recording. I think we're still good.
Okay. So the product is really what sells it. That's really the important thing.
Sure.
And without product, you wouldn't be able to do anything. Our side is that we bring a lot of credibility to it, and we bring a lot of outdoors people, long-term relationships with retailers and climbers and adventurers. So it's kind of a collaborative program to make it more accepted.
Right. And I know I'm really excited about it. I've seen a lot of the press material and a lot of the products themselves, the lines that are coming out, like we said before, lots of apparel, lots of shoes, and honestly, just really cool looking stuff. I'm sure it actually performs really well. When is this whole line going to be launched in its entirety? Is it summer of 2011, fall 2011? When's it? Because it's coming out soon.
Yeah, the first launch is fall 2011, and the products will start hitting stores in July and August. It's a pretty complete line of outerwear, from down jackets to Primaloft jackets and Gore-Tex down to specialty fleeces, and then a complete line of footwear. So it's a pretty big launch, and it's just starting. So at the moment, we're lining up different retailers that are going to be promoting the brand.
Right. Sounds good. Something we should all look forward to. So, switching gears a bit here, you have a large background in product design and development, and we've never had anyone on the show that's been in that area before. Can we maybe talk about like what goes into choosing materials and choosing color schemes, or just the whole process of the product development side? Where does that whole process start, I guess?
Well, there's the color on one side, and then there's the fabric and the actual design on the other. So generally you start with, in the performance side of things, with what's the function, who's wearing it, what are they going to be doing, what does it need to accomplish to work. So you start with a real a need in a functional product, and then you start creating the fabrics that work best for that function, whether it's lightweight or more durable, or stretch or not stretch. It needs to be really bomb-proof, totally waterproof, or it needs to be really highly breathable. And then you start creating all the features and benefits that make it better than what's already out there, or achieving what you're trying to achieve. And then you go in with the colors and decide what would make it interesting and fun to wear, more exciting. Kind of, how do you highlight the functional features with color? Maybe there's a pop color that highlights a specific feature, and so it's really easy to tell the story. And you go from there and you sort of build it from the ground up, and then there's the whole process of getting patterns and making sure that everything is fitting right and is properly sized for all different men's, women's, kids, and then the process of working with the factories to make sure that you have the right factory to make it so that it comes out the way you expected it to. So it's a long process.
So when you see a product, you see a lot of partnerships. Let's take something like Gore-Tex. Gore-Tex is used on a lot of shoes, but there are companies who obviously release several lines of shoes, and some of them have Gore-Tex and then some of them don't. So what makes that decision where a company says this shoe needs to have Gore-Tex?
Well, a number. I mean, in some cases, Gore is very restrictive on who they work with. So because Gore not only produces the product, the film that's waterproof and breathable, but they also guarantee that the product that goes in will work and will be completely waterproof. So they actually pick the companies that they will allow to buy Gore-Tex from them, and then they have a lot of requirements on what the product's how it's going to be constructed. Or you're not even allowed to use the Gore-Tex in it.
Right.
So, some companies don't have a choice.
Right.
Other companies may feel like, well, that's a lot of restrictions to put on me, so I'll just create my own waterproof, breathable, and we'll market it, and we'll try and sell the public on that.
So it's like you have to have a pass with Gore-Tex first to even consider putting that product in your shoe.
Absolutely. And not only that, then you have to work at specific factories, because only a limited number of factories are licensed to make a Gore-Tex product.
Oh,
so
wow.
If you don't work with those factories, you can't even produce the product.
Interesting.
So it's a very controlled environment. So some companies don't like that. It's expensive product, and it's one more step in the process. So it's a little bit more difficult. But in our experience, it's the best performing of all the waterproof, breathable materials, and it's the most well-known brand.
Sure.
In the world. So, one of my first companies, we were one of the first 5 companies in the world to make Gore-Tex products, and we've watched, myself and others have watched countless numbers of brands try and come out with a new waterproof, breathable fabric, and none of them have really stuck the way Gore-Tex has stuck in the mind of the consumer. So they've done a brilliant job.
So you actually have a lot of experience then dealing with Gore-Tex specifically then.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, maybe
Interesting.
too long.
Right, right, right. Just out of curiosity, is Adidas using any Gore-Tex in any of their lines coming up? Do you know?
Well, in the outdoor line, we have extensive uses of Gore-Tex, and Gore has different levels of fabric. They have a Gore Pro two-layer material, which is highly breathable, but maybe not as durable. They've got a three-layer performance fabric that's extremely waterproof and really will take a lot of abrasion.
Mm-hmm.
And we're introducing, along with two other companies in the United States, the very newest Gore-Tex called Active. It's Gore Active, and it's the lightest, most breathable Gore-Tex ever made. So it's the next generation.
Interesting.
And I believe it's 2 or 3 times more breathable than current Gore-Tex.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I'm sure that that is
And
just another area where it's so competitive because now everyone's trying to make their own, waterproof fabric. And so
yeah,
I'm sure Gore-Tex is doing everything they can to step it up as well. So it all
yeah,
kind of goes hand in hand.
and Gore is a highly technical, amazing company. They're the people who make when you get an artery replaced in your heart, it's Gore-Tex. If you have computer wires in your computer that can't heat up as much, they're coated with Gore. So
Wow.
their technological advances there are incredible, and they keep bringing it back into the fabric side too. So this new Active is a new way of making the Gore-Tex, and it actually makes the jacket much, much lighter and softer and much breathable, more breathable. But they also put restrictions on it that you have to keep the jacket under a certain number of grams. They
Wow.
want it to be put only in the lightest weight jacket. So you would not be allowed to make that jacket with like a wool lining or
Sure.
something heavy. It wouldn't even allow it.
That's interesting. Well, we'll definitely look for the launch of the Adidas line, the outdoor line, and so like I said before, I'm really excited for it. I've seen a lot of the items that are in there. It's just really cool looking stuff, and I think it's going to be something that everyone's going to want to get their hands on, and it performs well, and it's going to be just interesting to see the brand kind of take shape here in the U.S. So again, Greg, thanks for joining us on the show and answering our questions. And maybe we can chat again another time after the line launches and see where things go from there, okay?
Oh, certainly, Ben, it has been a pleasure. Anytime.
Great. Thanks, Greg. And as always, I'm your host, Ben. We are campinggeartv.com. See you next time.